Hello, it's assembly time. Now, you've been doing loads of poetry in school this week, and I can think of two of our global goals that are really, really important when we're thinking about poetry. Poetry is pretty cool. I wonder if you can work out what they are. Yeah, so quality education, absolutely, because you're learning stuff all the time. Learning is really, really important, but also good health and well-being. Because if we enjoy a poem, if we enjoy a story or something like that, then it makes us feel good. And actually performing these things, sharing these things is really, really good for our well-being. It makes us feel good. And now I reckon there's probably poems and rhymes that are in every family. And so I was thinking about this. And I was thinking, my granddad used to tell me a poem. And I always thought it was just a silly rhyme. I have no idea where it comes from. So it goes, the elephant is a funny bird. It flies from bough to bough. It makes its nest in a gravy dish and whistles like a cow. That's it. And it was just one of these silly things that he said when he came round to our house. He said, say, Matthew, I've got a poem for you. And we'd say, yes, Grandad, we know it's the elephant is a funny bird. And he'd do it all the time. It was great. But it's one of those real memories that sticks in my head of my granddad. And I think there's probably rhymes like that, little poems, that are in everybody's houses. But also, there's poems that are a really big, important part of everybody's lives or part of culture and society. So poetry and story was a really good way of telling stories before there was writing. And there are some stories that were passed down as poems over the years. So books like the Iliad, Shakespeare's poems, they were told stories, or they were the plays were presented in a certain way to tell a story. And what I'm going to do, because we know we love a good book, we love a story, is I'm going to read you a story today. And this story is a poem. And the whole thing is a poem, and it's just kind of fun. So why would we not have a bit of a fun story? So this is The Tapestry Queen. Okay. The Tapestry Queen by Nicholas Toogood. And here we go. King George had to choose who would rule in his place. The jester could not bring a smile to his face. Decided, he paced by his lion-headed throne, as if wearing a path on the fine marbled stone. Inspired, the king called out loud for a lord. Quick, assemble my court to the ward. The royal group mustered stood silent and still, as their much-beloved king expounded his will. Just how can I choose from my fair daughters three, which one of them should the queen be? My reign slips away just like fine grains of sand, so who to select to best care for this land? My wish is a test, it's a trial I bestow on my daughters three to weave and to sew. In 1 year a tapestry they must create, their own weaving hands will empower their fate. The princesses gasp at the tapestry trial, quickly each planned in their own unique style. Bella, the beauty, chose costly gold twine, the king's life, her radiant shining design. Arty Estrella picked velvet and lace, the king's battle conquests a cartoon to trace. Pinella, dismissed, chose yarn spun by worn hands, the lives of people sewn in humble wool strands. There we go, and we can see the pictures, and you can see the jester there looking at what's going on. Alive was the palace, hubbub on each floor, looms and frames clacking, each maid had her chore. Bella's maids pressed threads with repetitive care, all pushing heddles whilst regal eyes stared. Estrella's maids had bobbins they rapidly strummed, each sat by their frames while they busily thumbed. Pinella sat working her hand loom alone, her hands red and sore from the threads she had sewn. There's the coronation. A bit different to King Charles' coronation, wasn't it? A year passed, the final threads now knotted tight, supporters now bask in the sun's morning light. The jester he juggles and cracks pointed jokes. He holds a false crown to impress gathered folk. Stage grand, with a door in the ward by the spire, princesses emerge in fine stately attire. Crowds gather, expectant, a whispering throng. The jester begins another of his songs. Rich ones and paupers have joined the parade for a glimpse of the tapestry's stories portrayed. I'm your king, Jake the jester, aloud to the crowd. Then he mocks with a song of his war conquests proud. The people roar with laughter, amused by his show. His troop of young children bow down to him low. But flagged trumpets blare, now the king has sat down. He orders the jester, dispose of that crown. Bella stepped out with unbridled delight, the work of her maids like the sun dazzling bright. Such wonder and awe, it amazes the crowd. The golden threads glistened as Bella posed proud. A tapestry queen, cried a countess, there's proof. While a lord exclaimed loudly, oh yes, that's the truth. Another voice called from the crowd, just divine! Who else can compete with such extraordinary twine? Estrella's low curtsy now hijacks the crowd. Three maids unroll weaving, all beaming so proud. It's so plain, people moan. What a boring design. The princess then strums some concealed, special twine. Bright colours exploded like waves on the weave. The story's fluid motion they all scarce believe. Genius, a pompous lord shouts by the door. Campaigns, conquests, victory, the crowd yells for more. Penella was fearful, all hope giving out. Her sister's fine tapestries filled her with doubt. The crowd then fell silent. Sad tears filled her eyes. She presented her tapestry, puny in size. Small windows on life, both of rich and of poor, farmers and blacksmiths, a wine merchant's store. She'd woven with love and respect for each one, stories in detail, so thoughtfully spun. The silence was deafening, no applause, not a sound, until the king broke it with words so profound. Does a queen need her beauty like woven gold strands? No, she needs to work hard for these fair noble lands. Should a queen impress with her artistic flair? No, her people's concerns are her primary care. Ideas from the heart by your own fair hands weaved, results demonstrating what you have achieved. The orchestra's sound grew, building suspense. Bella stepped back, her anxiety intense. Estrella shuddered as shock filled her eyes. Penella saw her sister's sharp jolt of surprise. The insightful jester sung a sarcastic wail. Your maids did all the weaving work, you fail. He leapt and he danced and he spun like a top. Music stopped. Silence. You could hear a pin drop. Step forward, Bella. Show your weaving so true. Bella lifted her hands but knew not what to do. Her palms so perfect did not a mark show. Beautiful skin just like the fair driven snow. Step forward, Estrella. Show your weaving so true. Estrella lifted her hands but knew not what to do. Her palms were too perfect, just like soft silk spun, skin unblemished, for no working she'd done. Step forward, Penella, show your weaving so true. Penella's hands showed what everyone knew. Her sister sewed nothing, no thread and no yarn. Not a moment they'd spent into weaving their darn. Penella's raised hands were so different, you see. The crowd grasped the meaning, eyes full of glee. A story mapped in scars on fair dainty palms. Your tapestry queen, the king calls for calm. Her sisters were proud, now a reconciled three. The king crowned Penella for all there to see. Her kingdom and story both prospered and grew. The wisdom you've heard can apply to you too. Don't rely on your looks or your talents for fame. Being selfless and friendly begins your good name. Hard work, solemn duty, precious honour you've seen will remind you lifelong of the tapestry queen. There we go. Such a lovely story. And it's written so well, such incredible language, and the way that words have been played with and put in different places in sentences, and the rhyming. I love that. And it goes with a really lovely picture book as well. And it's a great story. So poems can make you laugh, like my granddad's Elephant is a Funny Bird, but they can also tell stories too. And that's the important thing. And it's just lovely to be able to share one as well. So there you go. I've shared a poem. I enjoyed doing that. Thank you for listening.